Hi there, this is a video to finish the translation of the Aeneid. What you've got on your screen in front of you is the Latin text, and there's an interlinear translation. So there's a kind of an English translation coming through as and when you read the Latin. So it isn't word for word. The purpose of this video is really to go through a word for word translation. So without further ado, let's do that now. So what we've got is Aeneas stands opposite Que, and he brandishes a telum, a weapon, and the weapon is described as ingens, huge, arboreum, made of or like a tree, so a huge tree-like weapon. Et and Saevo pectore, so in his savage heart, Fator, he speaks, sic, thus. Quae nunc deindem mora est? What now, then, est is the delay? Aut quid iam turne retractas, so, or, why retractas do you iam now shrink from me? Why are you running away from me? Turnus. Non cursu saevis catandum est communis armis. Catandum est is a gerundive phrase. It's a gerund used with esse to give a gerundive of attraction, construction. So catandum est, it must be fought, is how we literally translate that. So we must fight, probably what it means, but it must be fought, not by running, but by saevis armies, with savage weapons, communis, hand to hand. Verte omnis tete in facies et contraquid. Okay, so turn, tete, that's the same as almost like a reflexive in French. So te verte, turn yourself. Turn yourself in omnis facies, so into every or all shapes, so into any form you like. And contrahe, drag together, quidquid, whatever vales, strength you have, so however strong you are, sive, whether in your mind or with skill. Opta ardua pennis astra sequi, so opta is an imperative, so choose, sequi, to follow, the ardua astra, the high or the steep stars, pennies, with your wings. VE on the end of a word, a bit like que means or instead of and, so or. Cava is a second imperative, so cava te, bury yourself, that's a mistake, sorry, ignore that. So but the or, so or, te condere, so that is that's the imperative, so bury yourself. Cava is an adjective, it's not a verb, it's an adjective. Cava terra, so in the hollow earth. That's Aeneas' speech to Turnus. I'd learn it rather well. I suspect it may come up in some shape or form. Ille tells us there's a change in the subject. So Aeneas has been the subject. Turnus is now the subject. So ille caput quassans. So you could almost translate that as Turnus. So Turnus, shaking his head. There is no verb there, so we need to supply one. Said. Non me tua fervida terrent dicta. So your violent dicta words, non terrent me, are not terrifying me. Ferox, fierce one. D me terrent, the gods terrify me, and Jupiter as my enemy. So he's being pretty straightforward there and saying that essentially he realizes the omens, supernatural omens, and the gods are against him. And he's seeing evidence of that in terms of how the battle's panning out. Right, let me just get this to go down slightly. Hang on a second. Right, Okay, so the next section is all about Turnus grabbing a missile and throwing it at Aeneas. So let's just go through this rather quickly. So nec plura, we're on line 896 now. Let me just put the cursor there. So yeah, nec plura effatus, having not uttered plura, more words. Circumspicit, he looks around. And this is all Turnus. So Turnus looks around at a saxum ingens, a huge rock. A saxum antiquum ingens, an ancient huge rock. Quad, that's linking back to the saxum, so which, by chance, was lying in the field. A limes agropositus litem ut discerneret arfis. Yeah, so a limes, so that's a landmark, literally a dividing line between fields. That's what it is. So limes is a landmark, agropositus, placed in the field. Ut, actually you need to pretend is before the litem. Litem has been misplaced slightly. So in order to settle disputes with land, so to settle disputes between ownership of land. So that's that. Okay, vix illud lecti bis sex covica subirens, qualia nunc hominum producit corpora tellus. Yeah, this is Virgil giving an idea of the size of this stone. It's pretty big. Okay, so okay, bis sex, so 2 times 6, in other words 12. That's where the dozen is coming from in the English there. So bis 2 times 6, so 12 lecti, 12 chosen men could lift this with their necks. Scarcely. So 12 men could just about lift up this rock with their necks. And illud just means that, so that rock. So, you know, a dozen men could scarcely lift that rock with their necks. Qualia nunc hominum producit corpora tellus. The sorts of men, so corpora and qualia are agreeing grammatically. So the bodies of people of such a kind the earth now produces. So 12 of the kind of modern day or contemporary humans, rather than maybe giants from previous times or people of different sizes. So 12 kind of contemporary Romans. Okay, ille manu raptum. So again, this is back to Turnus. So Turnus ille raptum manu trepida torquebat. So he torquebat, he threw, he hurled the raptum, the snatched thing. The thing here is the rock. So the rock he had snatched by hand into the enemy. So he threw this rock into the enemy, and his hand is described as trepida, kind of trembling with fear. So putting it all together, he snatched the rock with his trembling hand and hurled it against his enemy, i.e. Aeneas. Altio insurgens, rising higher, and concitus cursu heros, and having been having driven himself in running as a hero. Okay, the English there is saying having thrust himself upwards like an athlete. Okay, sed neque currentem, se nec cognoscit euntem. So said, but a clue this plan isn't going to work. So he recognized, cognoscit, that he neither recognized himself currentem running nor going. So he doesn't kind of spot his usual athleticism and usual strength. The gods have kind of altered him. Or lifting his hands, or moving the giant rock. Okay, he doesn't recognise his own prowess when doing these things. Genua labant, his knees give way. Gelidus concravit frigoris sanguis, so cold blood, and we translate that probably his cold blood. Concravit, went solid with ice. Tum lapis ipse viri vacuum per non evolutus. Okay, then he himself. Well, that's kind of nominative singular. Viri there is genitive singular, and then vacuum per inane is a phrase which all agrees. So the ipse probably here is agreeing with lapis. So it's not he himself, but it itself, as in the rock. So lapis means a rock. So then the rock itself, having been thrown through the empty air, and then viri is just of the man. So the rock of the man, Turnus's boulder. So having flown through the empty air, nexpatium evasit totum neque pertulitum. So neither evaded space, so evaded the whole space. In other words, he didn't throw it far enough, nor did it pertulit ictum, nor did it strike the target. So it missed Aeneas as well. It was off target and not thrown far enough. Two ways the throw was poor. Okay, that takes us down to line 900 and what this out 1098. Okay, an important moment. We've got a simile coming up. Quite a kind of fun simile. But what's being compared here is Turnus's lack of strength with a normal kind of person's lack of strength when they're half asleep or dreaming, and the paralysis of the body, and the kind of basically the helplessness of your body when you're asleep. So let's go through it. So, and just as when in somnis, in dreams, ubi, when, quies, so when quies languida, so when languid, so paralyzing quiet, has pressed the eyes in nighttime. Okay, so just as when you have no feeling when you're asleep at night. Okay, nequiquam avidos extendere cursus vela videmo. Oh yeah, okay. So we seem in vain to want to extend our eager, avidos is eager, our eager cursus, running. So we kind of experience these dreams where we run. But of course, because we're asleep, we don't go anywhere. So it's nequiquam, is all for nothing. Okay. And in medius conantibus, so in the middle of our trying, and then igri succidimus, we iger means sick, literally. So we sickly succidimus, we kind of collapse, we don't go anywhere. Non lingua valet, the tongue is not strong. Non corpora notae sufficient vires, strength known in our body. So our body's usual strength, non-sufficient, is not sufficient. Neck, and our voice or words, neck, do not sequuntur, follow. So these are all kind of descriptive ways in which the body changes, how it operates when we're asleep. Remember, all of these descriptions are applicable to someone who's asleep in a dream, but also to Turnus at this point, when he realises he is gradually losing his heroic powers. Okay, so sick. In this way, for Turnus. So it was for Turnus. Quacumque virtute. Those are agreeing. So by whatever courage he sought, petivit, a viam, a route. Successum dea dira negat. The dire, dea goddess, negat, refuses successum, refuses success. So the goddess refuses to allow him any success. You may be asked who that goddess is. Again, I'd look in the notes. It's one of the demons who's come up, or rather been sent, to kind of give a message to Turnus that the gods are against him, and she manifests herself in the form of an owl, who then kind of flies into his armor and flies into him and kind of scares him. Okay, look through the notes if that doesn't make sense. Okay, tum pectoris sensus vertuntur varii. Okay, so then various feelings are turned in his heart. Rutulus aspectat, so he looks at the rutuli, remember those are his men, and the city, and he delays with fear, and he trembles that death is imminent. So he trembles at his impending death. Let's move this down ever so much, or ever so slightly. Okay, so nec quote ripiat nec qua vitendat in hostem. Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, right. What we've got here is, this is hard to translate, so sorry for the delay there. What we've got is some indirect questions. So notice how eripiat, probably haven't seen this. This is a type of subjunctive that doesn't come up at GCSE level, but it is one. It's a present tense one. And ditto for tendat. Okay, so you just have to explain why they're there to get the understanding. What we've got is quo plus this subjunctive, an indirect question, qua plus subjunctive, indirect question. So nec curus usquam videt. So he does not see. These are all necs. See how these are all negative? And this is all Turnus as well. So Turnus does not see, quo se eripiat, how he can rip himself from the problems. So how, quo, to eripiat, to rip himself. So how to escape. Nor, quavi, with what strength he might attack in hostem, his enemy. Nor does he see his chariot anywhere, nor his auriga sororem, his charioteer sister. His sister Juturna has been helping him throughout the previous few books, but she's now deserted him under order of the gods. So he's on his own. Cunctanti telum Aeneas fatala coruscat. Okay, Aeneas now is back in the action, and this is now describing him. So Aeneas coruscat, brandishes telum fatale, the fatal weapon, cunctanti, to Turnus as he delays. That's a dative present participle, to the delaying Turnus, cunctanti. Okay. Sortitus fortunam oculis et corpora toto eminis intorquat. Okay, so what else does he do? So he sortitus oculis. So he sortitus, having searched for an opening with his eyes. Fortunam is more like an opportunity. So having sortitus, an opportunity with his eyes. And intorquat, he shoots eminus from far distance, this kind of weapon, corpora toto, with his whole body. And then we've got murali concita, numquam, tormento sic saxa fremens. Okay, so yeah, murali is agreeing with tormento grammatically. Okay, and concita is connected with saxa as well. So again, this is a reasonably hard translation to translate. So it's rocks. That's our nominative. So rocks in this way, having been thrown by a murali tormento, so by a wall machine, literally. So by siege warfare. Numquam, never. Fremens, never make this noise. Nor, and this is another comparison, fulmina tanti crepitus. Okay, so nor do the tanti crepitus. So nor do such great crepitus, cracks, as in crackling noises, such great cracks, desultant, jump around, literally, what that's meaning. So, crackle, fulmina, from lightning. So it's given a kind of a very, very vivid sound effect to the sound of this weapon as it flies through the air. It's compared to these rocks, which have been hurled against walls as part of a kind of a battle. And it's also been compared to the noise lightning makes as it kind of bolts fly through the air. And it's saying that this rock, thrown by Aeneas, made an even more terrifying noise than those. Okay, volat atri turbinis instar. Okay, so volat, it flies, instar, so like, atri turbinis, so like a spinning, something that's ater. It's kind of dark in terms of, it's like a colour, dark. So it flies like a sort of a dark spinning thing, like a turbine, like a dark spinning wheel. And exitum dirum hasta, ferens, orasque. Okay, and then orasque is the next clause. So exitum dirum hasta, so bringing, exitium dirum, dire, destruction, and then hasta is nominative there. So hasta is the nominative. Let's go back and put it all together. So hasta, the spear, flies like atri turbinis, like a dark whirlpool. Okay, bringing dire destruction, and it recluded. So it lifts back. It literally opens up. It opens up the oras loricae, the mouths, literally, but the kind of the how do you translate this? It says the base in your translation. Oras are literally the openings. I think that's the way to translate it in your translation. So it opens up the openings of Turnus's breastplate, and the extremos, the outer circles of his 7-sided shield. Okay, and septem plicis can mean 7-sided. It can mean 7-layered as well. Probably 7-layered makes more sense. But this spear flies through his breastplate. It flies through his shield, and it's going to injure him. Not mortally, but it's going to injure him and incapacitate him. So per medium stridens transit femor. Yeah, and this is what the spear does as well. So stridens, an onomatopoeic word, screeching, transit. So it goes through the middle of his thigh. So it goes through his shield, through his breastplate, and thuds into his thigh. Very, very painful. Aeneas now can't move. Okay, getting near the end now. Incidit ictus ingens ad terram. So again, this is describing now Turnus. So Turnus, ictus, having been struck, ingens, the mighty one, so that's nominative, incidit. So ingens is your nominative. Mighty, and again, this is all one clause actually. If we look at this, there are no ands here, so this is all one clause, and we need to kind of translate it as such. So ingens Turnus, mighty Turnus, having been struck, fell to the ground. Okay, duplicato poplite, with his knee having been doubled, literally. He's not growing new legs or anything. What it means is with his knee having kind of buckled. Okay. Consurgunt gemito rutili. So okay, the rutili rush together with a moan. So they lurch forward with a huge moan, and the whole mountain moans again around, and the alta nemora, the deep groves, so the wild woods, remittent, responds to the voice far and wide. Lata means far and wide. Okay, so there is universal grief at Turnus's downfall. Everybody feels sorry for him, but of course his own men feel particularly sad, because this is going to signify the end of the war. Ille. So this is now Turnus again. So Turnus, humilis, Turnus, brought low, as a suppliant, so kind of begging, protendens, holding out his eyes and praying. So, and his praying right hand, those two are probably agreeing. So holding out his eyes and his praying right hand said, Equidem meri nectar precor. So I indeed, so meri is I deserved. So I indeed, equidem is indeed, I indeed deserve this. Nectar precor. And I'm not begging for life. Deprecor is a deponent verb. Utera, sortitua. Sortitua is ablative. This is because the verb ut, or takes, an ablative. And this is an imperative as well. So utera, use your good fortune, sorter. Okay. Oro. Sorry, I've missed a line there. So use your good fortune. Miserite, sequa parentis tangere cura potes. Okay. Yeah. Si and qua means kind of if any. So if any care of being a parent is able to touch you. Okay, miseri, it means kind of miserable. So if any care of being a parentis miseri, of being a wretched parent, is able to touch you, oro, I beg, fuit et tibitalis anchises genitor. Yeah, and there was for you a father of such a kind, Anchises. Okay. And he goes on to say, misere, so have pity on the senectae downi, so the old age of Daunus. So pity my old father Daunus. Daunus is Turnus's father. and rede, so return, as in give, me. So see how that works? So give me back meis to my people. Say you whether, Marvis, you prefer as a dead body snatched from the light or not. So what he's saying is, whether you choose to kill me or whether you don't, give me back to my people. I don't mind whether that's as a corpse or as a kind of a disgraced loser in our battle, but give me back to my people. And then he says, Vikisti, you have won, and victim tender palmas, Alsonii videre. So you have won, and the Alsonii, so the Italians, videre, that's short for viderant, so perfect tense. So the Italians have seen victim, the beaten one. He's talking about himself. So have seen me beaten, holding out my hands, and that's a sign of submission. So the Italians have seen me beaten and holding out my hands. Lavinia is your wife. Remember, there was a debate, and there was this was one of the arguments between the Trojans and the Rutuli. Lavinia, who is the daughter of King Latinus, had been betrothed to Turnus before Aeneas and his Trojans turned up. But now that Aeneas and his Trojans have turned up, Latinus wants, and the gods have prophesied, that this Lavinia and Aeneas are going to make a race which will become the Trojans. So they're in essence fighting over the land, but also this hand of Lavinia in marriage. So this is another big thing. Turnus is saying, Lavinia is yours, you've won. Okay. Ulterius ne tender odiis. Ne tender, an imperative with ne. So do not hold out any more with anger. So do not insist on further anger. Okay. And this is now talking about Aeneas. So Aeneas stood keen in his arms, so with weapons, volvens, turning his eyes, and represset dextram, and he kept his right hand steady. He kind of withdrew his right hand. What that means is he's refrained from stabbing Turnus and killing him. Okay, so Turnus's speech is effective. It's effective because it makes Aeneas hesitate. Okay, let's look at further evidence that Aeneas is hesitating. Okay, et yam magis contantem flectura sermo coibrat in felix humero cum apparuit alto. Okay, so and the speech, this is Turnus's speech that's happened, and the speech had begun to influence the delaying one. So Aeneas delaying, yam quae magis, more and more. So this speech is having an increasingly persuasive effect in getting Aeneas to spare Turnus's life. But then we have this key word here, cum, when. So this is going to tell us that even though Aeneas is delaying, something happens which radically alters Aeneas's perceptions of Turnus and radically alters Aeneas's behaviour. At the moment, he's being very conciliatory. All the signs are he's going to spare Turnus's life. But okay, let's look at what happens. So Aeneas was being cum tantem, he was delaying. Cum when the infelix balteus, the wretched baldric, so like a belt, the buckle of a belt. That's what a baldric is. So the infelix, the wretched baldric, appeared, humero alto, on his high shoulder. This is Turnus's high shoulder. What's going to happen is Aeneas is going to see something which Turnus is wearing, and what he sees is something that Turnus has taken from one of the friends of Aeneas as a trophy from having killed him. Okay, so when he saw this baldric high on his shoulder, et, and a cingula, a belt, flashed, notice bullis, with a with kind of known bullis, with known designs. Okay, Palentis Puri, of the boy Pallas. Now Pallas is an Etruscan. He's somebody who becomes a very close friend with Aeneas and fights on the Trojan side in this war against the Rutuli. Pallas comes into one-on-one combat in an earlier book with Turnus, and Turnus kills him. And having killed him, Turnus then seizes Pallas's belt and some of his clothing as a trophy and wears it. Now Aeneas is obviously going to be stirred to massive anger when he sees this, because he now knows who killed his friend. Okay, so let's go through that again. So, and the belt flashed with known bullies, with known kind of buckles, with known kind of designs, and all of these are belongings, Palantis Puri, of the boy Pallas, whom, beaten, Turnus laid to waste. Turnus destroyed, killed, would be fine, vulnera, with a wound. Okay. Atque. Umerus inimicum insignia gerebat. So probably here this is now. So and Turnus was wearing on his shoulders inimicum insignia, the hostile insignia. You might say a medal. I think that's what the English is saying, but an insignia, a kind of a badge. Okay, so as an enemy. Okay, so ille, Aeneas, after he drank in, so after he had absorbed with his eyes the monumenta, the evidence of his savage grief, and the excuvias and the trophies. These are the things Turnus is wearing. Furis acensa, burned with fury and with anger, terrible anger. Okay, now let's look at grammatically how this is working. Terribilis is nominative singular, so that's not necessarily agreeing with anger, but we might kind of treat it as a transfer epithet. That makes sense. But for a literal translation, having been scorched with fury and anger, he terribly said. Okay, that's agreeing with Aeneas. It's nominative. So he terribly said. Okay, and this is a really, really short speech. You can see that we're actually very close to the end. So Aeneas' speech is only 1, 2, 3 lines. It's almost as though he's too angry to say anything. So he just gives some very, very short rhetorical questions, and then he leaves the reader and he leaves Turnus in no doubt as to what he's going to do next. Okay, so tune, ne just makes it a question, doesn't it? So tune hic spoliis indute meorum eripiare mihi. So do you indute where the do you know indute where the spoliis, or indute plus an infinitive, eripiare, kind of has this sense of to try something on, to kind of attempt. So do you, on the one hand, attempt to eripiare, to snatch away from me the spoils of my men? Okay. And look at what the English is saying. Do you really think to escape me as you flash that strip you ripped from my man? Yeah, so do you think to wear the spoils of my men, eripiare, to snatch from me? And you put it all together and that's what you get. Okay, not easy to translate, and that's deliberate. What Virgil is doing is he's saying that Aeneas is so angry, he's almost lost the power of eloquent speech, It's very kind of short and slightly difficult to translate because he's so angry. Okay, so Pallas te hoc vulnere, Pallas immolat. Notice how Pallas is repeated to show, how central Pallas is as a friend and how desperate he is he's dead. It's also a big clue he's going to seek revenge. Okay, so Pallas te hoc vulnere. So Pallas immolat. Pallas finishes you off. So Pallas immolet te, finishes you off. Hoc vulnere, with this wound. Pallas, and he takes revenge from a wicked blood. Okay, and hoc decens, so saying this, Aeneas buried the sword under Turnus's chest, fervidus, in a fit of anger. So he kills Turnus with one strike of his sword. Ast illi solvunta frigora membra. Okay, so it's either and or but. It's an old-fashioned spelling of ast, so but you could probably translate it and here. So and membra, his limbs. Illi is a dative and it means to him, so the limbs to him, so his limbs. So and his limbs are freed with cold, and with a moan his life flees unworthily under the shadows. So to the underworld is how that would work. Okay. Yeah, so that's basically the translation. I hope that helps. As I say, this is a kind of a replacement emergency translation, just to make sure we've got all the lines covered. If you have any queries, please let me know. Thank you.